Hello, my name is Ilya Beda, and today I will tell you about SDC, FHIR questionnaires, forms, how you can build an application with all these cool technologies. A few words about me. I'm CTO and founder of Beta Software. For the last 5 years, I have been working for various clients all over the globe. I'm passionate about participating in conferences as a speaker. Also, I like open source very much, so all tooling I'm working on are usually open source, and everything that I'll demonstrate today is also open source. Finally, I from time to time participating in a questionnaire work group, and so it's just me. Yeah. So today I'm start with some small introductory for SDC. Then we will have more close look on the part of SDC called Form Manager. We will review form lifecycle, and finally there will be some demos that I hope you will find useful. I'm not going to focus on what is SDC a lot, because it is just a pre-recorded session. You can follow all these links, review all materials, and only I think 2 concepts I should mention here, like questionnaire is a definition of a form, questionnaire response is a result of a form. SDC implementation guide add more cool features to questionnaires and add more powerful workflows. And finally, you always can visit FHIR chat and there ask your questions. We have very friendly community there, so please join. Also, I would like to share some links about SDC. Maybe you can pause video right now and follow some of these links to get more details about FHIR questionnaire, structured data capturing, and so on. So some of these videos are mine, and some content may overlap with this presentation. So maybe it makes sense to focus on introductory from Lloyd Mackenzie and Brian Postlethwaite, and after you view this whole presentation, return back to FHIR Meetup and customizable universal forms, where I show some more detailed parts. It will be a good addendum for this presentation. Okay, let's start with a form lifecycle. So here on the screen you can see how data flows through straight data capturing workflow. So initially there is some source like a patient, then it's somehow transformed to questionnaire response to show some initial value of a form. It represents on the UI. UI is generated based on the questionnaire. We apply some changes in the UI, got updated questionnaire response. Then we need a way to return all these changes back to the source resource, patient in our case, and usually it's something like a transaction bundle. Let's have a close look on all parts of this life cycle. Let's start with the simplest one. So it is renderer. It is a pretty straightforward operation. There is a declarative definition of questionnaire, and you need some functions, some code that represented as user interface. Here on the screen you can see SDC IDE tool I have been working for last couple of years. I'm using this tool internally in developing SDC applications. Basically it's something like EDA, debugger, or I think about it like some developer tools. I'm going to show some key concepts with this IDE. So here in the middle you can see a definition of questionnaire FHIR resource, and on the right hand side you can see an example of rendered form. So basically it is just a set of questionnaire items that defines some form fields, and you can see how it is displayed. We can adjust something here, like name. Yeah, you can see that it updates in real time. Yeah, and basically it's just a render process. But I think you already wondering how all this data appears in the form. And let's proceed with population flow. So to demonstrate all this initial data in the form, we need a way to convert our source data, patient in our particular case, to a questionnaire response. This process is called population, and there is a set of extensions in the questionnaire resource that allow population to be happen. So let's review them one by one. So let's start with launch context. Yeah, there is extension called SDC questionnaire launch context. This extension contains 3 extra values inside. It's name for the variable, type of the variable, and description to better understand, for some documentation purposes, to better understand how this variable will be used. In the SDC IDE settings, all launch context displayed, and you can choose for what patient you would like to launch your questionnaire. You can obviously choose the questionnaire here, and then choose the patient. You can see how it updates here, and also it updates in a form. Yeah. So this launch context is a kind of starting point for the population. We got this FHIR resource, and then we need to query some parts of this resource and put it in form fields, like given name, middle name, and so on. SDC provides 3 ways of doing population. The first one is observation based. It's used mostly for observation, and so we are not talking about it today. The second way of population is extraction based. In this case you may use SQL or FHIR paths to define population logic, and today we are talking about FHIR path based expression based population. And finally there is a third option, is structure map based, when you need to define a structure map that converts your launch context to questionnaire response. Yeah, this part is also out of scope for today, and now we are focused on FHIR path based extraction. So there is a extension that may be defined on any questionnaire item. This extension called initial expression, and the type of it is expression. So here you may use text SQL if your population engine supported. My population engine support only FHIR path, so I'm using FHIR path to populate value here. It's not so obviously to write FHIR path expression, especially when it's more complicated, not like some simple expression like this. So for this purpose, SDC IDE provides a useful FHIR path debugging tool. It allows you to write FHIR path, and it calculates on fly. So for example, you want to extract some part of the launch context. Maybe let's demonstrate how it may work with telecom. Yeah, like, or we can use some queries. Type use is mobile. Telecom where use mobile value. Yeah, you can save, and now some mess with quotes. Yeah, and you can see that instead of first name we got like mobile number, so it's very easy to debug FHIR pass expression here. Let's return it back to name given first. Yeah. So the same technique. So this tool is still under development, so you may face some small bugs, but usually it's pretty easy to fix. Yeah. The same technique used for all other fields to do the population. Now, when we got all data inside our form, we can apply some changes. For example, we can fix typo in a name. And you can see that the questionnaire response have updated and it contains correct answer. You can see how it is updated. Yeah. And the next step is to return all changes back to the patient resource. This process called extraction, and it works like this. So you already you have already saw questionnaire response, and we need to convert it to a bundle that apply all changes to our source, our patient. So there is another set of extensions for the questionnaire that provide metadata for this transformation. So questionnaire structure data capture implementation guide provides 3 ways of extraction. The first one is observation based, the second one is structure definition based, and the final one, the third one, is structure map based. So unfortunately I am not using any of them, because observation based is hard linked with observation. Definition based force you to use structure of your questionnaire very close to structure of the FHIR resource. That is not suitable for some UI UX reason. And if you would like to use structure map based, you have to define structure map, use FHIR mapping language, and I am not a big fan of these technologies. So I am using another tool called Jute, and in my other presentation I provided a kind of more detailed overview of Jute, so I will just show only some basic concepts here. So to define a Jute mapper, let's start with the questionnaire. There is a my branded extension like questionnaire mapper that allow you to make a reference to some mapper resource. It's not a FHIR resource, it's just a reference for Jute mapper. Yeah. Jute mapper look like this. So in body you define a shape of some object, and then you can use FHIR pass to embed some values there. For example, you can see how I am embedding given name. So there is a questionnaire response. I am iterate through all items, select link ID for a particular question, and get the question result. That's how value passes to the resulted transaction. As a result, you can see that first name from this link ID, like Jane, was extracted by this FHIR pass and finally put here in the first element of name given array. Yeah, let's again apply some changes and see how all this stuff flows. Yeah, you can see Jane Q here, maybe some extra letter. Yeah, And finally, when we need to return all changes back to our patient, we can just press apply, and the patch will be executed and given name will be changed. Let's just do it. Yeah, you can see that resource is updated, and we finish our form lifecycle. In some cases, it's not enough to have only patient as a launch context. Let's review another questionnaire. And this questionnaire collect information about some patient health details, like diet and nutrition, allergies, immunization, and so on. To populate all data into this form, patient resource is not enough. We need more queries to FHIR servers, we need more data, we need to somehow load nutrition order resource to display this information. Let's see how SDC allows us to do it. So first of all, let's have a look to an extension called source query. Yeah. This extension is a reference to a bundle. This bundle should be executed, and the result of this bundle should be put into questionnaire context. Yeah. Here, in this particular case, bundle defined as a local reference to contained bundle. So in the contained resource, there is a bundle with ID diet and nutrition, and here is the content of this bundle. Let's open debugger and see how it works. So this bundle contains some embedded FHIR path expression, and it is kind of extra features defined in structured data capture implementation guide that bundles may contain some paths that shall be executed with FHIR path to get an actual value. So we define this bundle, we define FHIR query that uses launch context, like launch patient, to load nutrition order. Once FHIR path expression is resolved, it presented like this, and finally you got the result, the list of nutrition orders for patient with name Jane. I think this behavior a bit incorrect, because a lot of patients may have name Jane, and we need more, and we need a better way. Let's just update it and see how it works in action. So first of all, we're going to search by patient ID. Yeah, and now you can see that resulted queries like patient ID should be Jane. It's incorrect. There is no results. Yeah. However, we can update FHIR path and use ID here. As a result, you can get that we're querying nutrition order with for patient with ID patient 1, and here is the result, the 2 nutrition orders we see in this form. Yeah, so it is how this advanced population with source query works, and let's see how extraction works in this case. So let's open diet extract, and you can see that the result of these forms is just 2 codings for 2 SNOMED diets. To update this information on the FHIR server, we can't just update the patient resource itself. We need to update nutrition order. I'm not going to focus on lots of JUT details here, because it is part of other topic I have presented on Dev Days. Once it will be live, you will be able to, once it will be available on the YouTube, you will be able to see it. Yeah, but let's see how it works on the transaction level. So first of all, we need to somehow remove all diets except these 2 we selected in the form. It may not be actual deletion, it may change the status or whatever you prefer. Yeah, I'm doing it like this. I defined a kind of custom operation that remove all diets for a particular patient without excluding diets with these codes. You can see that it's exactly codes selected here. Maybe let's see how it updates on the live. Yeah, it's not part of the FHIR, and as I mentioned previously, when DevDays will have uploaded the data, you will be able to see this speech and see how it works. Finally, after we clean everything up, we should create new nutrition orders, and here could be two cases. The first one, we need to create this nutrition order, or this nutrition order may exist in the database. Not to create some duplicates, we're using conditional create here. So we are checking that for patient with ID patient 1 and with oral diet with such code should be created only once. If nutrition order for this criteria exists in the database, this request return error code. Otherwise, it will just create this nutrition order resource. Yeah, and we need to proceed with such requests for each nutrition order. Let's see how it works. Now let's just clean up everything. You can see that it's only a clear diet without any existing oral diets. You can press apply. You can see that no diet selected. Let's check this one. Let's press apply. And just to make sure that we will not get a duplicated diet. Yeah, it's only one diet here. Also, we can get back to source query and double check that it's only one. Yeah, it's only one diet and nutrition. I think that's all from a demo part today, and finally I would like to demonstrate how you can launch everything locally. This URL is live and you can play with SDC ADA just using this URL in your browser, but in some cases when you would like, for example, adjust some source code or maybe upload some data that you needed for your some particular cases and you don't want to put it on a public FHIR server for that this deployed SDC IDE version used, you can launch everything locally. And now I'm going to show how you can do it. So here is a link to an open source repository for SDC IDE. It is just user interface for it. If you are interested in the populate, extract operations, you need another repository. It is 8box SDC, and it attached as a Docker container to this IDE. So basically SDC IDE is UI, 8box SDC is a backend, and for example you are interested in populate operation. Here it is. Extraction. Yeah, all source code are here, you can review it. Yeah, and let's launch everything together and see how you can get a working copy locally on your computer. So first of all, we need to copy this repository, git link, and use git clone to get this copy on your local machine. Yeah, then you need to go to you can use yarn or npm to install all dependencies. Let's launch it. And while it's installing, let's proceed with backend setup. Yeah, so in the examples folder you can find some Docker compose used to run all the backend part. Database, FHIR server 8-box, and 8-box SDC plugin for that I have already mentioned. You need to use Docker to launch everything, and the first step is to just a sec to initialize the database. However, the first step, you need to create an env file. It described in the README. Since we are using 8-box FHIR server, you have to go to license.ui.8box.app, sign up here and get your free license for 8-box. I have already had one, so I am just copying env file here. Yeah, now we can launch database. Yeah. Then let's make sure the database is up and running. Yeah, you should see this string in the logs, and it means that the database is set up and running, and you can continue with initialization. So if you are using some x86 64 architecture like regular Intel or AMD processor, you can launch everything like this. It's Docker Compose Dev App. But if you are running macOS on M1 processor that uses ARM64 architecture, you need to add one more Docker Compose file here. It's called dev-emodin, and it M1, and it overrides some settings for Docker. Yeah, let's do it. So now it launches 8-box and backend, that basically 8-box SDC package. We are waiting for some initialization. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Maybe I should run everything on the background without logs, because outputting logs take a lot of time, because a lot of initialization happens. And while it launches, we can just start web version. Oh, yeah, it's checking license. 8-box launched. Now the application is initialized. Yeah, and finally, once you got the string in the log, 8-box app successfully initialized, it means that you got your 8-box up and running. Yeah, you can see that it is working. Now we are starting IDE itself. Yeah, by default there is no data in 8-box, so you will see this like error pages, and we need to initialize it. Let's open one more terminal. In the README there is a command that performs all initialization. Basically it loads nd JSON dump of some predefined questionnaires, patient and other resources, and upload it to local FHIR server. Yeah, everything is uploaded, and now you can update the page and see that you got the working copy of the 8-box SDC. Now you can play with it, you can adjust the source code of the SDC IDE application and dive deeper in the SDC. Yeah, so that was all for today. Feel free to contact me via email or send me a message to FHIR chat. Here's link to SDC IDEA GitHub repository. This link for the backend implementation of SDC. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you for watching it. Bye bye.